All right, welcome everybody to Learn with Lowell. We are joined by Kim. Kim, for the listeners, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a 60-year-old German. I have three grown kids and I live in Spain. Lucky me. The sun is shining a lot. I used to be a journalist, traveling the world with my husband, my three kids. And then one day I got pretty sick, got better, fought my way out of it. And then because I thought that I had found something that could help other women too, decided to drop journalism, become a health coach. And now, for 6, 7 years, I've been on a muscle mission for midlife women.
And is there? I believe that you have like you've achieved some. It's not like if I was going to the gym, and I was like, hey guys, you should go to the gym too. Like, there's a little bit more like you've achieved some stuff with your mission as well.
Yeah, and it took me some time to realize that, that it was pretty exceptional because I just saw it as my life and my path. So when I was diagnosed with MS, that was in 2013, and I didn't have much damage to my body after the relapses that I had. So I started working out to become like really strong.
Hmm.
Um, and I got stronger and better. At some point, I could actually quit my treatment, which is even more amazing. And I switched from training in the gym to doing Olympic weightlifting, where I now, at the tender age of 60, compete regularly. So I'm not going to say that I cured myself of MS with strength training because that would just be reckless. But I think the fact that I got really better physically and mentally, which is a big one, and I think we're going to
Hmm.
probably go into this, is really due to me training and then giving me the confidence to do a bit of crazy stuff and competing in international competitions and stuff at my age.
Hmm. Yeah. The what all goes into Olympic weightlifting? As someone who I know nothing, so what
Yeah.
what does that look like?
Okay. I just gonna fair warning, stop me because I can talk about this for hours.
Hmm.
When people hear weightlifting, they think about people like Arnold Schwarzenegger pumping iron in the gym, which is not weightlifting. That's bodybuilding, where you just, train to give your muscles a certain shape and size. Olympic weightlifting consists of just two movements. The idea is you have to put the bar overhead, and in the snatch, you do that in one move from the floor overhead in one move. And then the second one is called a clean and jerk, and that's where you lift the bar to your shoulders first, and then in a second movement in the jerk, you put it overhead. And that's all you do.
Hmm. The what's the one? I see this all the time where like someone has the bar and they have their hands like this. Which I don't know why they do this, and then they lift it up to their knees and then down. It doesn't seem like that'd be a
That
workout.
that's a deadlift.
Hmm.
It's called a deadlift. I think that maybe I'm just remembering this wrong, but I think it's called a deadlift because it's like what you used to do on the battlefield when you lifted the dead out, from the
Hmm.
battlefield and you put them onto wagons or something. So it's where you just have to, pull that bar up. And the problem with the deadlift is, yes, you lift with your legs and with your back and with your whole body, and you can lift a lot of weight with your whole body, but your grip might give out
Hmm.
because you have to hold on to that bar. So that's why you do this cross grip where
Oh,
one
okay.
hand goes under and the other hand goes above. In Olympic weightlifting, we have something that's called the hook grip. So we squeeze the thumb in with the bar. So the thumb sort of hooks into, you're hooked into the bar because the thumb is there.
Hmm.
Um,
Friction.
and when you start out lifting uh, like that, well, it takes some getting used to. Your thumb will be painful for a while, but then very soon you don't notice it.
What made you wanna? Was there like a moment where you're like, yeah, Olympic weightlifting, that's for me? Or was it like an ad? I know, like I remember reading about Arnold Schwarzenegger where he just like he had like posters of bodybuilders on his walls all the time. I see no posters of bodybuilders on your wall, so I feel like there's maybe something there. I don't know.
Yeah, so I worked out and I did what was what's called powerlifting. It's weird because
Hmm.
it's actually the Olympic weightlifting, because it's explosive, has the power moves where you really need power, move the bar quickly. And what powerlifting is, you move the bar slowly, but it's called powerlifting. So you do deadlifts and bench presses and squats and all this stuff. And I used to do that. And when we moved to Spain 10 years ago, I worked with a personal trainer, and I think he had gotten into Olympic weightlifting. And then after a few months, he said, "Hey, Kim, would you like to try that?" That was all. He had gotten into it. He thought it was cool. And I was, at a stage in my life where I was ready to try almost anything because, you only live once. Kids are grown or big enough. You can do stuff. And I tried it, totally sucked at it because it's really something. It's not enough to be strong. It's about technique. So you're sort of outsmarting gravity. You have to lift the bar in a vertical line because that's when, it's the most efficient way to lift it. The further the bar is away from your body, the heavier it feels and the heavier it gets, with the lever. So I tried it, and I did it for quite some time in a commercial gym, which is crazy because you lift the bar overhead, and once it's there, you just want to drop it. If you have to sort of lower it down slowly, it gets really exhausting and can even sort of, start hurting your shoulders and stuff. But I enjoyed it so much that I then switched to a weightlifting club, a pure weightlifting club. Cool place, no mirrors, no music.
At any point in this conversation, if you find value in it, please subscribe. It is hugely beneficial, and it tells Google and everyone out there that this is content worth watching. Thank you for everyone thus far who has commented, liked, subscribed, and told their friends.
And like a coach who's there, and every time you come, he tells you what to do, and he teaches you the technique. And after 2 weeks, I was 55 when I got there. After 2 weeks, they said, "Hey, Kim, do you want to compete?" And I said, "Why the hell not?"
Mm-hmm. It's like you and Mike Tyson. I think there's a boxing match right now, and he's like 55, and when he competes, it's gonna be 58.
Wow. Yeah. But
I think it's in boxing. He's gonna punch someone. I guess I don't know who it is, like a
yeah,
baller
he's
or
a
something.
boxer. I think this is the
Yeah.
first time in my life somebody compared me with Mike Tyson. I'm flattered.
Yeah. Well, same age. He got off the. He was like a bit of a doughboy, and now he's like pretty good in shape as well. Which is it's interesting to see. I think for a lot of when I look at older people that I know, and I don't want to be mean to them in any way, but they don't exercise a lot. So then I think, oh, I guess that's my future. So I see like a disparity between like, hey, there's people in the gym, and I see old people in my community that don't look like the people in the gym, and like they don't exercise or they just kind of go for walks and like look at the world, I guess. So I was curious, like, what do I have to look forward to as I age? Like, if I take care of myself, is it going to be great? If, I don't want to be mean to the old people in my community, but like, they can't really do all that much. Like, that's not really what I'm excited for. But with you and Mike Tyson, continuing that parallel, it sounds like you can still, not can still, but you can do you are able to do like a ton of stuff if you like are really really dedicated and passionate about it.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking about this Mike Tyson example because I think when you've been, for a lifetime, I know about his history and he went to jail and I don't know what, but if you have been through this, this path of training and training is different from exercising. Training is that you are setting a very particular stimulus for a very specific adaptation. Like you train for a marathon, you don't exercise for a marathon, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want, you do a certain thing with your body so it becomes able to do something very specific. And when you've been through this, with all the hard work and, I don't know I don't want to necessarily call it sacrifice and suffering, but it's hard work. And it's gotten you somewhere. I think that sticks with you. So he can go off track and then come back to this because he knows how it works and he can do it again, no matter his age. And I think this is something really empowering. And if you want to keep your quality of life as long as possible, I can only say go and do strength training. It will make you good at everything. You'll be able to roll around on the floor with your grandkids, for example, which is, I think, a great motivation for older people. And you can still go on hikes and do, I don't know, whatever you want if you're strong and mobile.
Yeah, I think that's something to look forward to and strive for as well. If there's a lot of time commitments you have to do. Get up earlier, what have you, for people. Like when I'm out in the morning, it's like there's like that's where everyone is. They're like everyone's like in their little zoo of like running or whatever. And it's kind of cool to see the young people. And then like 2 hours later, that's when like slightly older people come out and watch the sunrise. And so it's kind of neat, like the different epochs of stuff. When it comes to lifting at your level, so Mike Tyson, he's like taking like stem cells and stuff to like supercharge himself. It sounds like you're just like a beast. Like you don't even do any of that stuff. But are you doing anything in particular to like rejuvenate your body so you can keep doing it keep it at that level?
It's pretty simple, actually,
Hmm.
and that's also what many people sort of overestimate the stuff you have to do. Well, I mean, I train 3 times a week, and that's pretty hard. And now it's summer here; it's hot. So when I come home
Hmm.
from training, first I eat and then I take a nap. Yeah, full transparency, because it's like really hard. You need good quality sleep and lots of sleep, and you need food. I mean, food that's worth being called food. So you have to eat well, recover well. Recovery is often overlooked. It's really important, especially as you get older. Um, and move, just move as much as you can. Because when you don't train, you want to be walking, or, like now here I'm talking to you, I'm standing. So don't want to be sitting. Um, and it's something that's a difficult one. We mentioned it before we started recording. Our brains don't really want us to move. They want to conserve all the energy that we sort of eat. They think there might be starvation around the corner. So our bodies will tell us, oh, it's nice on the sofa, stay here and stuff. But we actually have to be deliberate nowadays, and fight for our right to move, actually.
Mhm. Yeah, my brain's kind of dumb. The sometimes if there's like something nice in the house, I'll be like, no, I want to eat all of it right now, so like I can preserve it for a long. It's like that's not how that works, Lowell. Like you calm down. If you eat it all now, then you literally will not have any later. But I fight that in much silly ways, and it hasn't gone away. And I'm like in my 30s now, so I assume that's just something I'm gonna have to deal with. But there is something to like that lazy inertia that we were talking about in the preamble. But this idea that once you get over that kind of the hump of thinking like I can't get better or I can't do anything, and I've seen this with many people, and you've seen it with many more times people than me, that there's like like a little bit like you get over the hump, and if you can just stick with it for a little bit of time during that like the tired period or that crappy period, you're able to like look back, like kind of what you're saying now, and look back and like see the strength of it. Like, hey, like it sucks now, but you're gonna get through it. Like, there are days where like, I wake up and I think, oh, you're an idiot. It's like, oh, don't worry, give it like an hour, you're gonna feel better. And I just keep going through my day. I don't like let it derail me. But if I was in the earlier part of like exercising or what have you, that would like eat into like, oh, I feel crap. Maybe I don't do anything, and then eventually like an hour later, it's like, hey, you didn't do anything. Like start doing it now, versus like waste the day or whatever. And I think that's really the only difference is that when you're first starting out, you don't have that like muscle memory or you don't have that track record to know like, hey, this is just a normal feeling you're gonna have every now and again because you don't know what you're doing. If you just like get up and start going, this is a weird thing too. If you get up and start going within like 10 minutes, you feel better. But if you sit there and you just kind of like wallow in it, it could be like an hour or more, and then kind of affects your whole day. But like if you just get up and start moving, if you hold that faith, for the most part, like things get better, which is kind of
Yeah, it works that way, and it's even like a technique that I do with my clients. So you're waking up in the morning, you're not motivated, you're tired, you just don't want to do anything, or it seems difficult. Whatever it is, there's always a reason not to do something.
odd.
And we have this 5-minute rule. So you don't want to do your workout, okay, but you're gonna, make a deal with yourself, and you're gonna do it just 5 minutes. You do the first 5 minutes of
Yeah.
the workout, no matter what it is. If after 5 minutes you still feel shit and you don't want to do a thing, you stop, but you've done 5 minutes. Most of the time, after the first 5 minutes, it feels so good that you just keep going. And I think there's a very important lesson in here. We need to sort of scale things down. We need to do small things. That's the problem with the New Year's resolution. Like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week and I'm going to be so fit. You think that you made one big decision to change your life. What you actually did is you sort of set out to take 20 decisions 3 times a week. Like pack that gym bag, put it into your car, get into the car, drive through traffic, go to the parking lot, walk into the gym, get changed, walk onto the gym floor, then do the exercise. That's too much. There's so many decisions you have to make, and they are all sort of new and change. So your brain will have resistance because your brain hates change. It wants you to be where you are because it thinks where you are is safe. Whereas when you can do like a small workout at home, um, and you can just tell yourself, okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes in my pajamas. There's just one decision. You don't have to do anything else. There's not so much stuff around this that you all have to do. And that makes it easier. And you have to be aware of this when you start something. It's very inspiring and sounds great to think, I had this epiphany and I'm going to change my life. On a practical level, you're setting yourself up for really hard times because it doesn't work that way. You need to do tiny, tiny things, something where you're 150% sure that you can do it. And if that's just one glass of water first thing in the morning for 2 weeks, then that's it. And then you can build on that. Because by doing something tiny, daily, consistently, you prove to yourself that you can do things and you get motivated and it snowballs from there. If you have this big plan, falls apart after 2 days, then you're just going to be defeated and frustrated.
Yeah, I think it's almost it's like it's hard to like you're saying it's really hard to do 5 minutes. So similar to what you encourage people to do. I will often joke with my friends saying try to only do five. Like literally, if you can stop at 5 minutes, come find me. Like it is like almost painful to stop at 5 minutes once you get
Yes.
going. It's like there's something like just whatever it's doing. I think this is great for procrastinators or like if anyone's struggling getting something going. Um, if you just get that 5 minutes going, you'll just go on a tear. Another thing, I think I heard this from like Jordan Peterson or like a short of his or something, and he said if you're not meeting your big goals, you're setting too high of a bar. So you should lower your bar, and then you start meeting them, and then from meeting them, then you'll be able to do bigger things. And it's like, oh, I never thought about that before. But like doing like 5 minutes or trying to only do 5 minutes is the same kind of concept. You're like kind of if you're
Yes.
going from zero in an arena that you've never been in before, how do you expect yourself to do like a full set of something that you don't know how to do? Like you're saying, like the 20 different things. It's well, you have to get your form right. If you're in the gym, then it's social anxiety and all these other things you have to worry about. But if anyone listening, I know this is kind of a horrible thing to say because like maybe you'll stop the podcast, but I want you to go do whatever you want to do. Like whatever you've been wanting to do, try to like stop the podcast and try to only do 5 minutes of it right now. Like like you will
Yes.
not be able to do it. We won't see you again. We won't see you for days.
I think that's totally true. And I mean, we're always told that we need like, big ass goals and the more ambitious, the better and all this stuff. And it's inspiring. And you can see, and we also have this problem right now, this information problem, because if you start out, I start Olympic weightlifting, I just click on YouTube and I can see the best lifters in the world. I just, if I grew up 50 years ago in a village and by chance somebody would have showed me Olympic weightlifting, I would have just done that thing and tried to learn from that person in the village. Now I can just go on YouTube and see people who have done this for probably 15 years, who are the best in the world, and that can be so intimidating. You can see then their technique and you can think, oh my god, I'm never going to get there, and look at the weights they're lifting, no way. And that can be inspiring sometimes, but I think more often than not, it's actually discouraging also for young people when they want to do something like learn an instrument or learn some kind of sports. Um, and then they see, how advanced the advanced people are. And they sort of think, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. I think this is a problem. Sometimes we have to sort of shut ourselves off from all the world-class stuff that we have access to.
Yeah, there's like this quote by Steve Jobs where he says, "Everyone who's ever done anything is no more smarter than you." And I think that's like is no more smarter or better or anything than you. And as I've gotten older, that has been proven time and time again. Like the people who are doing stuff, um, startups, whatever, behind the scenes, for anyone listening in, if you want to know, like any person I've ever interviewed, any for the most part, like it's a business that sounds really impressive. I've flown out and met them. They don't know they're like a hamster, rolling on a wall. Like I don't. It makes no sense sometimes that they're able to get anything done. It's like they're to do better than everyone else. Like 5 minutes is really you just do that compound, and then there's the it's like compound interest. If you do like $1 a day and it compounds, like you're gonna be like a millionaire by the end of the year. Even sometimes I tell people like if you can do like 1% better a day, that's like
Absolutely.
that's almost 4 times better by the end of the year, which is better than zero. But yeah, just for people listening, sometimes if you like we have someone like really cool on like him, I bet like when he first started doing you're weightlifting, you had the exact same stuff we're talking about now, where it's like, this sucks. I can't do this. And you were not good at it objectively, probably, unless you're like, yeah, some like innate, talent. But even then, you had to like really hone it. Like talent only takes you so far, but you still have to have like the skill of like persevering.
Yeah. And I remember that it sucked. And I remember times when I thought, oh, this is so hard. And I thought it would be so much easier. And I'm still dabbling with like 15 kilos. And what is that? Um, but I don't know what it was that kept me going. I think I was just really hooked by this lifelong learning aspect of it also, because you never do the same lift twice. It's always a little bit different. You try to make it as sort of automated as possible in your brain. And there's this really cool research. People who are really specialized in their sports, like you would think that the brain area the movement is um, where the movement is saved, like recorded, would be like, big or very lit up. And it's not. It's actually pretty tiny because they have automated the movement so much
Mm.
that they don't need brain space for it. The body just does it. And that's where you want to get. And still every single lift you have to focus, like 100%. You can't be thinking about anything else because it's not going to work. Um, and I've been doing this for 5 years now, and I'm learning every day. And then there's stuff that someone tells you to do. This is also a very important lesson from weightlifting, actually. Like the trainer, he only will say he has like maybe between 3 and 7 cues that he's going to give you. And they've been the same for the last 5 years. But you have to get to a certain point in your development, in your evolution, to be able to actually understand and execute that cue. You're not ready for a certain cue at a certain point. He's going to say something like full extension, and you understand, your brain understands what that means, but your body has to get to the point where it can actually execute. And I think it's the same in life. There's so many lessons. It's like the same when I want to tell my kids, oh, benefit from my experience. This or that um, is something that you can do. They're just not ready for that. They have to be at the place where they can see it and live it and experience it. And we sometimes just have to wait to be ready.
You can always chase them. You can say like, hey, you need to go to the gym, or I'm going to chase you. I have a friend who's like, pretty portly right now, and he was telling me that he doesn't have like the will to go to the gym because he's doing, whatever, running his company. And I said, I'm going to randomly get on a plane and go hunt you. And I'm going to do that randomly. Like sometime this year, I'm going to get on a plane and I'm going to go hunt him. And he texted me the other day saying that like that actually like he's actually like, going to the gym now because he's concerned I'm going to hunt him. Like, no,
Whoa!
I'm 100
Yes.
I'm 100% going to hunt him. Like I'm not even, he's going to listen in. I'm not going to say his name. You know who it is. And I'm just gonna play him and come on and hunt him when he's like not like I'm not gonna hurt him, but like just like get him out of nowhere. He could be at dinner. I don't know where he's gonna be. I'll text his their significant other and stuff, and but it seems to be helping. You can always just chase your kids. At least and a sample size of one, it seems to really work to threaten us hunt people.
That's amazing. I like that. And if
Yeah.
if it's worked, if he's going to the gym now.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm sure he thinks I'm joking too. I'm gonna get him. Like either he's gonna come out the Midwest one of these days, and he's not gonna think I know where he's at. I mean, there are people who has GPS coordinates. Not to be like a weirdo, but like I can find him anytime I want. But and I offer the service for free for anyone listening. But no, it takes a lot of time and energy to do that. But one thing that we were something that was really kind of exceptional about your story, and I think I have like your quote of it, so I'm just going to read it. And everyone who's a long-time listener knows I'm mildly dyslexic, so don't make fun of the way I read things. But so I was in a wheelchair in Berlin in January 2009, and in the number one spot of the European Masters weightlifting championship in Waterford, Ireland. So many big words. In May 2023. That's such a huge change. So if you're comfortable with it, like what was going on in 2009? I added a one there. 2009, and how do we get to 2023?
So in 2000, it was the end of 2008. I My kids were small. I was picking them up from school, and I realized while I was driving that I was seeing double,
Mm-hmm.
um, which was really scary. I was 45 at the time, I think, and when you have a little bit of a backache or you feel a little bit of creaky, you can ignore your way out of that. But when you're seeing double, there's no way you're not going to go to see a doctor. So they sent me to the hospital, spent 6 weeks there. After 3 weeks, I was not only seeing double, I was paralyzed from the hips downward. And it was a first autoimmune episode, and it's called a syndrome Guillain-Barré, which is a one-off. It's your immune system attacking the body's own nerve cells. In my case, it was like, for example, the nerve that controls the eye muscle that holds the eyes in place. That's why they went cross. And then it was my legs were gone. I couldn't wiggle a toe. And after 6 weeks, I got home and I was in a wheelchair. And they had given me all sorts of treatment. They weren't sure what was really going on because the symptoms were all over the place. They didn't fit into boxes and stuff. Um, but one of the treatments apparently had started to work, so I could feel a little bit more in my legs again. And then little by little, from the wheelchair, I went to crutches, then one crutch, and then without a crutch, and it took about 6 months until I could walk more or less normally again. Weird sensations because when the nerves are concerned, you get to feel things that you don't want to feel. Weird sensations in the legs kept on for a while. But yeah, that's where I was, and I can tell you that that was something that really impressed me. First of all, being in the hospital sucks. For anybody who didn't know this, and maybe you guessed,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then being in a hospital and not being able to walk sucks even more because you feel like you're not even a human being anymore. You have no say over anything, not even when you want to go to the toilet. Um, and not when, there's light on in your room or off, when someone is in your room or not, when someone's talking in your room, you have no power at all. Um, so that was really annoying. And the second thing that impressed me, that was like within 2 weeks, your legs, they look like sticks. The muscle, it just wastes away. And that's super scary. So when I then 2 years later, when I thought I was, out of the woods, I got this MS diagnosis. I just wanted to be strong. I just wanted to be strong and uh, probably sort of feel more power again, get my power back and get that like by being physically strong. And also autoimmune diseases, you feel that your body's betraying you because, how can it do this? How can it attack itself? That's just not right. So that was my big, big desire. I just wanted to be strong, and I started training and becoming stronger and better, um, physically better, mentally better. Um, MS requires lifelong treatment, but we moved to Spain, and the Spanish neurologist, after watching me for 3 years, he said, "You're going to stop your treatment. You're doing so good. Don't have any symptoms and no relapses. We're going to stop it." Um, and by that time, I was physically active like crazy. I did mud races, obstacle races, and stuff with my friends at the gym, and I just tried stuff. I was so grateful for being able to move, and I think that gratitude and that joy, of being able to move when you haven't been able to walk at some point in your life, probably also gave me that open mind when the trainer all of a sudden said, "Would you like to try Olympic weightlifting?" I was just so sort of curious and wanted to absorb any kind of movement that there was for me, that I said yes. And then when I liked it so much that I switched to gym, then I was in a gym where everybody competes. So they didn't care how old I was or anything. They said, "Yeah, of course you're going to compete." And then I
Mm-hmm.
got curious and I checked what the, levels were on an international scene. And I realized that it was totally attainable for me. And then I thought, yeah, how about going to a European Championship? That sounds amazing. It was just, I can't even like pinpoint one moment where I sort of thought, oh, this is what I want to do. It sort of just happened naturally.
Mm-hmm.
It just was the thing that I had to do.
And for the starting with the blurry vision, it's I think I'm not too read up on this, but I believe it's just like get like a hurricane hitting you. There's no like you can't like prevent it, can't really do anything about it. I think there are people working on like preventing hurricanes, but we're not anywhere near preventing hurricanes. So if I understand it correctly, there's not like no one listening could do anything to prevent what happened to you to happen to them. It's just like it might happen to you. Don't be scared about it, but maybe enjoy as much life as you can. Um, and you got hit by a hurricane and you got up and you rebuilt, better if I'm understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's at the beginning there was lots of fear because you don't
Mm-hmm.
know how you're going to get better. A bit of darkness, um, and disappointment because obviously, first of all, before that happened, I of course thought that I was indestructible. Like, I mean, many of us think. So there was a bit of disappointment there. That, okay, I'm not indestructible. That's not fair. Um, but it was especially this one, and this I think this is important. It was obvious that it was not the lifestyle thing. It was not like, and I had been raised by such a health conscious mother, and you, the disappointment stemmed from that too. Like, oh, come on, I've been looking after myself, okay, and now I get this. Where's the logic, And then you
Mm-hmm.
have thoughts like, if it doesn't help to live healthy, then I might as well like get drunk every night and forget all about this. So there's some reckoning sort of due in your brain to sort of get to grips with that.
Mm-hmm.
What I never had, and this is something I know that many people have this reaction, and it never happened to me. I never asked myself like, why me? It's a question that for me, it was clear that this was now my path. There was no point in asking why me, because what are you going to do? Suggest someone else? Like, hey
Mm-hmm.
God, why did you pick me? Take my neighbor. I get give that to them. So that was not my problem. My problem was more with like disappointment, and then yeah, expectations. You have a certain expectation of your life, and in our reasonable brain, we know that we can't really plan, and it can all be over tomorrow, and our reasonable brain knows that. But when you have like sort of lived it in your body, like you're out from one day to the next, you have a different grasp and the gratitude when you come back and you can actually do all those things that you weren't able to do for a while. Um, my life is richer for this experience, really.
Mm-hmm. I think it's called like post traumatic growth. I think like that's the technical term for it for when you have something bad happen. Because there's some people who have something bad happen and it kind of just like they crumble from it, and then there's some people who have something bad happen to them they grow exponentially from it. And I don't think there's been any research to determine like why one happens, one doesn't, like why you go one direction or
Okay.
other than just like you know a belief in yourself. And maybe it's the not questioning the why me because you didn't all the decisions you had to make. You didn't have to like make the decision to work through like why me. You were like, no, well, this is what it is now. I'm going to work forward. Um,
Yeah.
and then are you so when it comes to the weightlifting, are you like you're completely jazzed? This is what you're doing now, and like you're like kind of like so you had like this big progression of life, from the wheelchair to like lifting weights at this huge level. And so I'm always curious, like if you continue this line, like there's so many different opportunities you can be doing now. So I was just curious, like where do you feel you're going in 2024? Is it the same? Are you going in? Are you exploring any different things, that type of thing?
Uh, for me, it actually feels like there's this French movie and it's called Life is what's it called? Is a large, quietly streaming river. For me, it's just sort of an easy flow right now. I go to my training. I love my
Mm-hmm.
training. I don't want to miss my training. In 2 weeks, I'll be traveling to Norway for another European Championship. Um, my dream right now is like just be able to keep doing what I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
because if I keep showing up, in 10 years, I can be world champion. And even if it's only because everybody else has stopped showing up,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to show up. Yeah. And if I could keep doing this, if I can keep doing what I'm doing now, for me, that's perfect. So yes, I want to lift better and I would love to lift more. And it's weird, even though I'm 60, I can still lift more. I'm physically really, I think, very strong. I was going to say exceptionally strong, and then I thought that was sort of bragging, but I'm really very strong. And So I can, by improving my technique, I can lift more. That's something that I really want to do. Um, but quite frankly, if life could just keep going like this, that would be perfect for me.
Is there like a lift amount that you're pushing for right now, or is you just doing your best
Um,
every day?
no, there's like a dream number. So my best snatch is 35 kilos. I have no idea what that is in pounds. I think it would be
I'm gonna Google it.
77.
35 kilos to lbs. That is 77 pounds.
Hmm.
Okay, kilogram.
And so, and I would love to get to 40 because it's like the round number. Um,
88.
I I can tell you that. Um, what can I tell you? Like the German uh, record for that in my weight and age category is like 34.
Hmm.
Um, I haven't lifted 35 in my current weight and age category yet. I lifted 35 a year before when I was in a different. It's complicated. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so I can just give you an idea of where I'm at. So I'm strong, but I can do more, and that would be for me. I would be over the moon, and I keep you know dreaming and wanting to get that. But I'm not obsessed either, and I think this is something about weightlifting also. It teaches you humility because this week again, like on Monday, I was lifting beautifully. My technique was wonderful. I thought, yes, this is a breakthrough. And then yesterday, I came back and it, wasn't half as good. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's your body, your brain, the whole, stuff. It's not never the same day. So you can just keep coming, coming. If you enjoy the process, if you can fall in love with the process, you can just keep doing it and feel good.
Mm-hmm. The I think Arnold Schwarzenegger said that he like weightlifting was his form of meditation because he would just put everything into each, as he did a curl or whatever. That was just like his form of meditation. Do you do anything other than lifting weights for like that mindfulness to like have the perspective to keep going?
Yes, I meditate daily,
Hmm.
actually. And I took that up after my MS diagnosis. So that was in 2013. And I think it saved me and it changed my life. It's hard to describe because it's not grandiose or anything. It's actually very simple. You just sit down and watch your breath, and then you just can take this little step back from your thoughts. Thoughts don't stop. They keep coming, but you're sort of sitting by the side of the road and you're watching them go by, and that gives you so much freedom. And there's luckily a lot of research into this like when you have a wild emotion that sort of, you know this when I don't know, you could have a fight or something and you have a
Hmm.
feeling that sort of invades your entire body. You feel like you can't do anything else. It's all over you, this emotion. And then when you can sort of sit down and sort of take a step to the side and look at it, the intensity of the emotion decreases right away. And that's how this works. And it helps you put stuff in perspective. And it helped me at the time and still today to focus on today, focus on the present moment, do what I can do now, and not let myself be scared by the future. And at the time, that was important because when you get an MS diagnosis, you don't know what's going to come. It could be anything. You could be back in a wheelchair. You could lose your eyesight. Anything can happen. So I didn't want to, wander into the future in my mind and scare myself with scenarios that weren't real. And meditation really helps me, just look at today. What can I do now? What's here? What's now? And then try to be as grateful as possible about that.
Do you was there when you first were learning it? Did you learn it from like an app or like a YouTube video or anything like that? To yeah.
I still use an app. It's
Hmm.
a British guy who founded it, but I think then by now they're worldwide, global. It's called Headspace,
Ah, yeah.
and they're really great. I remember because my mom in the 70s, got into, I think she tried TM, Transcendental Meditation, and she would come home and talk about this. And it was this thing where, you had to sit in a certain way. And if you just move one finger, it was all screwed up. You had to be like totally this.
A lot
And
of
it
work.
was like, yeah, you could like never really get it done right. And Headspace is like so laid back and it makes it so easy and doable. And I mean, when they started, they just had like, not 3 levels of meditation with more or less cues. Now, if you download the app, you have a host, you have workouts, you have trainings on job anxiety, on leaving home. They have, they're like a really good companion. So, I'm not an affiliate. I'm just a big fan.
Mhm. The do you do the? I think there's a paid. I was just pulling it up so I could like double check this, but I think there's a paid version, and they do have a bunch of free stuff too. It's been a while, but I've used Headspace as well, and then they took away the free stuff that I liked and put behind a paywall. But even they have a free trial for 14 days. Is it how much is this? Oh, it's only like $5 a month. Oh, this is pretty cheap, pretty affordable. Anyone want to try
It's
this out? Try it for 14 days.
Try it. And actually, we have a family subscription. So we
Hmm.
pay something like $80 for 5 people for a year.
Wow. So, if
So
you don't have a family, go in with 8 of your friends and divide it.
yeah, you can. Absolutely. So I mean, they are a business, but they're out to do good. So they're fine. They're good.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it. You have different voices and stuff as well. So anyone who likes Headspace, check it out. It's headspace.com. It literally, as simple as that. And then it'll be the first thing that pops up. We're not getting paid for this, but if you want to send us money, it's all the same. So you did the meditation. One thing that we've kind of been highlighting here, but I haven't noted down, that you think that a lot of health and well-being problems can be resolved through like strength training and muscle building. And so we've kind of talked about a little bit of strength training, but is the what you've modeled thus far what you'd recommend people do, like the Olympic style? I mean, probably not. Now I'm hearing that out loud. But like, what would that look like? What would strength training and muscle building look like?
It totally depends on where you are at. And I think that's the crucial point. So I'm not going to go and say you should do push-ups or you should do deadlifts or whatever it is. Best thing you can do is have someone who, like a professional assess you, see what your strength level is, what your mobility level is. And then you start where you are at. And for most people who've been sedentary for a while, and like the women I work with who are like 40s and older, and then when they haven't trained for a while, we start with body weight exercise. It's very simple stuff, just to get the connection working between the brain and the muscles, because the brain sort of puts them offline when you don't use them. And then start with something like wall push-ups or very shallow body weight squats, things like that. That's how you want to start. And if you don't want to go to a gym, you can like get really strong and super strong, like without touching iron for I'd say 2 years. I mean, I can get you stronger and give you harder stuff to do just with your body for 2 years, and you don't have to set foot in the gym if you don't want that.
So I'm hearing there is that also it's I think people put the pedal to the metal like we've been talking about. This is something that happens a lot in the gyms where like you'll have one person come out and they'll like go really really hard and they hurt themselves and they never come back again. But the fact that I'm hearing like 2 years, there's like you can I think I might have too many friends, but I'm referencing different people. I have a friend who was having a problem, and I said, "Do you want the same? Like, if you worked every day on this, how long would it take you to resolve it? Like in the most extreme timeline, how long would it take you? Like, oh, 5 years." I was like, "Okay, in 5 years, do you still want to have this problem?" Well, no. Well, if we start right now, it's not 5 years in a day. If versus starting tomorrow. So I kind of like to say, what you're saying, like, 2 years. If you're going from like couch potato, um, you can just like slowly work into it and add it in and start building that
Yeah.
muscle.
You don't even need 2 years if if you start something now and you get the right progression for your level, so you don't get hurt and you don't get bored. You're going to feel better in a matter of weeks. Just the way you
Mhm.
feel, your quality of life. You will have energy surges. You will feel so good about yourself. And then for the first 6 months, you will feel stronger, like on a weekly basis, because you have what we call newbie gains, where just the connection between your brain and your muscle, because the way strength is basically a function of the efficiency and the effectiveness of the signaling between the brain and the muscle. So when you train a muscle to failure, it's not the muscle fiber that fails, that can't contract anymore. It's the nervous system, the central nervous system, that can't send the message out fast enough anymore. It gets tired and then it breaks down. And when you haven't done anything for a long time, and you reestablish that connection, you feel stronger and so much better in a really short amount of time, because the connection is there and you just sort of awaken it, and it will make you feel great.
Yeah, I think that's the one of the like oxymoronic things where the to get more energy, because something I hear is, well, I'm already tired. Why would I do this to make myself more tired? And then maybe they'll add like a lol at the end of that with like an exclamation point. I'm like, why would I do this? But it's like if you sacrifice a little bit of the energy now, a little bit more, because like who cares? You'll actually get more, which is really weird. But
Yes.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, the science of it and everything makes sense. But like, you're like dead tired. If you can like find a way to get like, try to only do 5 minutes. I'm telling you, anyone listening,
5 minutes.
just try to do 5 minutes. Yeah. I'll have to title this episode. Just try to do 5 minutes. Like 5 minute powerlifting. I don't know. And then do you routinely in your workouts that you kind of recommend at a certain point recommend people? I forget the word for this. I think you just said it. Where you do as much as you can of a weight or exercise until you basically can't do anymore. I forget what the term
train
is.
to failure.
Yes,
Train
thank
to
you so much.
failure. No,
Yeah.
I don't do that.
Okay.
I don't do that. Not with my clients, because they're mostly like middle-aged women who want to get stronger. So it does make a lot of sense. Training to failure is best for people who look for hypertrophy, who want to grow big muscles, which is
Mm.
not my clients. And in weightlifting, you train short, explosive movements. So repetitive stuff to failure is not, doesn't work for that. That's the thing that I said about training before. Specificity and it's something that even, it sounds like such a big term, but specificity is what you need. You need to know, what do I want to achieve with this training? So for a middle-aged woman, it will be build strength, increase mobility. For a weightlifter, it will be develop power, explosiveness, and strength. For a bodybuilder, it will be, develop muscle mass, have the muscles grow as much as possible. So you need time under tension. And then, I mean, there's also the thing with train to failure or not is also a controversy, of course. Some people say yes, some people say no. But I think science says that it actually does work. I prefer for most people to work with proper form, and then, stop before the form breaks down. Because it's very likely that your form will break down before your muscle fails. And then, you're going to hurt yourself. Maybe you don't want that.
Is there any nuance in focusing on like energy and general health maximizing? So like that'd be like my focus. I don't really care what I look like. I just want to be like have the most energy and be as healthy as possible. A lot of the listeners apparently are in the same boat, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yes. So you would want to, and this is because my clients, what they want is energy too. So what you want to do is you're going to train movements, not muscle. I know it sounds weird because I'm all about muscle, and you want to build muscle, but you want to build the muscle by training movements. So no, how many bicep curls or bicep curl-like movements do you do in your everyday life? I'm going to guess 0. So you want to train movements that you do in everyday living: pushing, pulling, carrying, lifting stuff up from the floor, picking stuff up from overhead. You want to train that, because then you will be so much more efficient in your daily movements. That nothing but being able to do those things easily will give you an energy surge, apart from the workout itself, that where how you mentioned, you invest a little bit of energy and you get back so much more because you're tiring your body and it comes back stronger. But you will also
Mm.
save energy on just simple stuff that you do every day in your life by that. And then you want to sleep properly and eat good food.
Mhm. The when people have gotten to the point where they're over that like just do 5 minutes, is there a rough like amount of time or intensity that you recommend?
That totally depends on what you want to achieve and where you're coming from. When I start with my clients, I do just 15 minutes because I
Mm.
want to overcome that inner resistance, that that difficulty of lifestyle change. I want this to be as easy as possible. So I design a thing that you can do in 15 minutes, first thing in the morning in your pajamas, and then you're done. So you get all the benefit, but you don't have to overhaul your entire lifestyle. You don't have to negotiate with yourself for the entire day and see, oh my God, am I going to go? Am I not going to go? Am I going to find an excuse? And you just do it. And you can achieve remarkable things in 15 minutes. If you could stick with the basic movements, you can do some pushing, pulling, carrying, stuff like this. Um, then later on, if you want to become like much stronger, um, or grow more muscle, you can go to 3 times a week and then work out for 45 minutes, maybe 60 minutes, and then rest a day. Then you want a rest day in between. But for most people with like general health needs and just start moving, you can do 15 minutes a day. That's just fine.
Yeah, I read a lot of these like the research and people say like having a rest day is really good, but I struggle with doing a rest day. I know I'm supposed to, but often I will not want to. It's like doing that 5 minute. I just like the idea of just continually doing it every day. Though I know I'm not
Okay.
supposed to, but I will do it every day.
It
But my
depends
wife
how,
stops me. I'm kind of
yeah,
crazy.
it depends on how hard you worked out, actually, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and then a rest day is just you rest from lifting. You want to still move as much as possible and get walking in and stuff like that. Your body doesn't want to be sitting down. It doesn't like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I used to be a much crazier person, but my wife's been helping me be less crazy. I used to work like 3 days in a row without sleeping, and now I sleep every day. So I feel like that's an
Good.
improvement. Yeah. Uh, I didn't realize it either. I like there was one time we were meeting up to have lunch, and she was like, "Lowell, when was the last time you ate?" Because it came up. She's like, I just ate with you yesterday," and like, "Lowell, that was like 3 days ago. What are you doing?" It's like, well, I got really
Wow.
sucked into writing this thing. But one thing, you talk about how instead of cutting out food, you find food that energizes and empowers you. And there's like a bunch of stuff on dieting here, particularly. And I think dieting is one of those things where it's like, uh, because people want to do the right things, and a lot of people, I think a lot of research says that if you want to lose weight or get healthy, a lot of it starts in the kitchen and then it goes everywhere else with like the good practices. But then there's like all these fads or like how you do stuff. So I'm very curious, from one person's point of view, who is helping a lot of people. What does what does that actually look like? What is the like good dieting, a good food that energizes and empower you?
Um, Basically, you need a very simple blueprint that you use for every meal. You want to have a
Mm,
source of protein. Yeah, you want lots of vegetables, some fruit. And then depending on how much, I mean, you want healthy fats, but you want not too much, actually. Just a little bit to sort of lubricate the whole machinery. And then depending on how much you move, you're going to have some carbs. If you are sitting all day, uh, the carbs that you get from your vegetables will probably be enough. We have this traditional blueprint of a meal where it's meat and vegetables and potatoes, because the people who raised us and their parents, they used to walk to work and they used to work physically and they were not sitting all day. I think most of us don't really need the potatoes, so you want to start your meal with meat and veg or fish and veg or tofu and veg, whatever it is, some protein, vegetables, fruit, whole foods, and you're fine. And then you want to just make sure you take your time when you're eating, um, so you know when you've had enough.
mm,
That's a big problem. When you eat in front of your computer or watching TV, you're not even listening to, what your body is saying. And it's so easy to overeat because eating is fun. It crunches, it tastes good, it's like sort of enjoyable. And when you don't pay attention, you will eat too much because, you know, we're hardwired to eat.
Mhm. You touched on a point there that I was just literally reading about this morning, where people, if you eat in front of a computer screen, TV, whatever, you will almost guaranteed overeat, or you'll
Yes.
finish and not be full, and you're like, well, I want a snack, I want something else. It's like you already had all that you needed, you just didn't notice it. And that couples with this thing that I think that it's really fun to have like family dinners. So it's like, get everyone sitting at the dinner table, eat together, and you won't overeat. And it's kind of nice. So you get like to make a memory, and hang out and not eat.
Yeah.
And it'll cost less money too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's much more fun. Um, and you will just be tuned in to what you need. And I think that's much more fundamental than it sounds. It's not only about, eating enough or not too much food. It's about listening to your needs. It's all drowned out these days with all the noise. What do we really need? And sometimes this is also, one of the stuff I say, a bit provocative. I tell people not to listen to their body, and they what? But they tell us to listen to our body. Actually, any message that comes from the body always gets interpreted and translated by the brain. So when your real need might be a nap or a hug, your brain is going to say, "Oh, I think we need chocolate," because
Mm.
it's a mess, and the body is very complex, tons of signals always traveling in all directions. So when you think your body needs chocolate, if you pay attention, it's probably something else it needs.
That's interesting. And then couple that with the meditation, you'll be more aware when your body's doing stuff like that, when it's giving you a tricky signal, because you'll feel the motion, or you'll sense what's going on. You'll already have kind of that built up muscle of like, hey, what's going on here? What am I looking for?
Yes.
Because you have so many decisions in a day. I was reading Obama's biography, who for people not in the U.S. He was a president of the United States, and he would actually limit the decisions he'd make in a day, because he would stop being able to make good decisions, because he would be like, oh, I have to decide this, this, is this. So he would just like wear the same thing every day, or have the same meals and stuff. He'd like limit decisions just so he could like make the hard decisions that he could make as much as possible. So the same things happen to everyone. You're making 20 decisions to go to the gym, and that's just before you start work, and then you have 1,000 more you're going to do, and 1,000 more you're going to do. So it's really easy to get to the point where you're not listening or in tune to your body unless you've trained yourself to be in tune to it. You have that muscle that's built up. So Headspace.com. No, I'm just kidding. There's actually free apps too. If you don't like Headspace apps, we can recommend some other ones. Actually, if anyone needs a free app, just comment in the below, and I'll find some free ones that are just as good as Headspace. But I think it has a free version too. When it comes to your food, so like today we're at the end of your day. I think one thing that I'm getting from what we've been talking about, and what's in our preamble conversations, is like you don't eat boring food. Like you don't. I think one of the things you propose is not like I think like celebrities. It's like chicken and rice. They just eat really really boring stuff all the time. And I feel like you're probably suggesting something more like interesting, like you enjoy the meal. It's not like just like
Yeah,
bland.
I mean,
Maybe yeah.
it's that's a very tricky one. I
Mm,
recently came up with this idea to help my clients. I call it the trifecta. I got it from Oxford students who have, to decide, do they, like for sleep, slow social life, and academic success, you can only have two at a time.
mm,
And it's the same with your intention or your expectations. What do you want from food? If you want it to be pleasurable and you want it to be healthy, you won't be able to lose weight. If you want it to be healthy, and you want to lose weight, it's going to, it's still going to taste good. I'm still going to love it, but your intention will not be for it to be
yeah.
pleasurable. So it could be chicken and rice or chicken and broccoli. Or
Mm,
you want to lose weight and you want it to be pleasurable. So then you're going to go for, I don't know, all kinds of processed protein bars and diet sodas and stuff. So you can still lose weight, have sort of pleasure in eating that food, but it's not going to be very healthy. But between these three, um, and I'm not saying that the food is not pleasurable when it's only healthy and good for weight loss.
Yeah.
I enjoy these foods. It's about what's your intention? What do you expect from the meal? If you expect pleasure and you expect it to be healthy, if you want to fit those two, fill those two, tick those two boxes, it's going to be very hard to make it a weight loss friendly meal. So
Mhm.
I eat almost the same breakfast every day. And I know that some people find that boring. If you want sort of success with health and weight loss, routines are helpful. Same thing we just said about Obama. I think Mark Zuckerberg is the same, like he wears the same T-shirt every day, so he doesn't have to make a decision. And I go for 50 grams of protein before noon. So I have like a big protein shake in the morning, a piece of fruit, maybe some whole meat bread with some avocado, something like this. Um, and then it's always a piece of meat or a piece of fish, or can be sometimes tofu. I have no problem with tofu and vegetables, and that's it. Um, if I want starchy carbs, if I've trained very hard, I'll have some whole meat bread. I'm not so much into rice and pasta and stuff. I don't like that very much. And yeah, for some people this must be boring, but like if you eat vegetables and you eat a wide variety of vegetables, there's so much stuff there, so many ways you can prepare them, so many flavors you can add, and then the colors. I enjoy the colors of vegetables. I think it's amazing. So yeah, I don't know actually what boring food is.
Yeah. I think foreign food is like I don't know the way they described it. It's like they only had chicken and rice every day, all day
Yeah.
for weeks. I once had like something like that for like a month, and it was like this sucks because everyone around me was eating nice. That's the horrible thing. So
Oh,
everyone
okay.
is eating terribly, and I'm eating like the stuff for health reasons, and it's like kind of painful, but it was good for me in the end. But that's another thing. I imagine it's probably easier to do these things if you have like a community. When you were getting into everything, did you have a community? Like once you outside of the classes, were you like doing stuff with those people to kind of like have that good supportive structure around you?
Um, Not really. I mean, the
Hmm.
weightlifting club, it's like a family. So we know each
Okay.
other very well. Um, but outside, I mean, yeah, sometimes we go for a meal or something. Yes, that happens. And when we travel to an international competition, we're like a group. Um, no, my support network is basically my family who lets me do whatever I want, which is like really great. And I think
Hmm.
it sounds funny, but it's a thing, and I'm discovering this more and more in my work with women, because many of the healthy choices and the lifestyle change problems have something to do with power. Women do not feel they have the power to make those decisions. I'm discovering how many, a woman will say, I'm lucky my husband is cooking all our meals. Yeah, but she doesn't get a say in what goes into these meals. And if she
Hmm.
starts, if she wants change, she's going to have a marital crisis. So it's having a family or people around you that support you and that give you sort of enough freedom to do what you want to do. It's crucial, and I feel very blessed because I know that not everybody has that.
Yeah, I was recently. So I have a bunch. I was like meeting some people in a city, and I'm trying to be unspecific so I don't dox anyone on accident. But I was meeting them, and they were some of my lady friends, and I know of the fact that they have families, but I've never met their families. Like this is the first time I was meeting a couple of them, and around their like when I'm talking like this, they're like very powerful. They're like doing some of the greatest work in the world. But then around their significant others was like completely differential to the guys, and I was like, this is really weird. This is
What?
really weird. I'm a little surprised by it. But it's like when in Rome, I just kind of I don't start doing it to them, But like it was just kind of odd to see like these three or four women, and then like and like this group of like 15 people, where it's like they were like they would like the foundation for everything else to work. Like they would just be like, oh, I'm gonna help you this, I'm gonna do this, this, this. It was like I would ask them questions like, hey, what do you think about this? And like, well, Bob wants this, and I was like, okay, now I know what Bob wants, but what would you like? And like it happened so many times when people started looking at me like I was doing something wrong. And I was like, I just want to hear your opinion. If I'm asking you your opinion,
Oh my
um,
God. And
yeah, and I was like,
what generation? How old
they're
were
like
they?
my age, a little, yeah, my age or a little older. I was just not to be mean to anyone out there or any saying any like I'm not trying to attribute value to it because they were happy. I was a bit surprised that like if they said I want to do X, Y, and Z, like people would ignore them. You know, like if I'm around people and someone's saying something, I'm hearing what they have to say. And if someone like accidentally purposely ignores them, like, I'm kind of going on that person until they stop it. And so to be in this, in this circle of people where like say, oh, I want to get, whatever, and they'd be like, uh huh, and they would just go do something else. I was like, did you just hear what she said? Oh, I'm, or I'll find a way to not be confrontational about it. But that was just interesting. I was like, oh, this is odd, But I think there's hopefully that's changing because that's kind of
I
odd.
was
But at the same
hoping
time,
that.
if it people makes people happy. I don't want like anyone listening in to think that Lowell's being mean to women who like
No,
things a
you're not
certain way.
being mean. It's. I think it's really interesting, and I think, uh, at least the women I work with, I realize, that we haven't been brought up to just say, "I want this."
Hmm.
It's gonna be like, wouldn't it be nice? And it's really funny because it's been a misunderstanding between me and my husband for a very long time. When I want something, then I say I want this. So when I say, would be interesting to have a look at this, and he thinks I'm saying I want this. And then he goes, but you said you wanted to travel to Italy. I said, no, I said, would be interesting to look into traveling to Italy. Because he has been also trained with this woman language where we say, yeah, maybe, and yeah, and not go, this is my point of view, this is my opinion. And it becomes so habitual that then, when from one minute to the next they start saying I want this, then there really can be a crisis because it's challenging and threatening. Change is always challenging for everybody. So it doesn't mean that their husbands are sort of male chauvinist pigs or anything. It's just
Hmm.
the status quo is somehow being threatened when things change, that's one of the biggest surprises in my coaching work, actually, to realize how important the environment is and how difficult it is to work on it.
Yeah, the purposefulness of it, because the one thing that has been nice about, and I feel kind of sad for people that like for guys, just from a guy's perspective, when they're like so closed off to women, because I know people who are like, I'm a guy and I'm looking for A, B, and C, and like for dating, and but they don't like they have like female friends around them, but like they're not like really female, they're not like really friends with them. And it's like so you want it's like, but why don't you be friends with them? Like what's wrong? Like they're like really cool people. I want to be friends with them. And so it's like it's really kind of sad when I see like these guys that are so close off to like listening to women, and or even like I think it's kind of like a media problem too. Because like how often in a movie are like a guy and a girl uh not like love interest by the end of the movie versus just being friends? Like I've been thinking about this like the last couple weeks. It's like how can I just like completely let someone know I'm not interested in them? So that they, so like Raquel, apparently being married is like really nice, like lets everyone know. But like it's just like I know from guys that I know, it's like they don't I don't like they have female friends, but I don't know if they have female friends, because like if like they ask people how they're doing, and I'm just watching what they're doing, like sometimes they don't listen or whatever, and it's like, well, there's a whole world there, man. There's a whole world that you're
Yeah.
missing out on, and it's really cool. Like you're saying, like they have, sometimes people like they even have like different way of speaking. You've been taught a different way of speaking, so it's kind of fun to learn how to listen for that, and
Yes.
then like learn what that means and like how to communicate it. But for your clients, I imagine like up front, sitting down with some others, I'm very curious to hear like how do you get their loved ones on board. My guess would be, is that if I was in your shoes, it'd be something like you get them, like you just have like a family meeting, like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be great. I'm trying to be healthy, which is going to result in you having more fun with me. And I don't know, but like, how do you get them on board?
Well, I haven't done that so
Hmm.
far.
Hmm.
I mean, I'd be willing to do this, but I would want the client to sort of suggest or ask this because I would otherwise feel like I'm intruding, and I'm not a counselor. What works well is when they, because of the physical training, they become so energetic and so happy. Then the husband's like noticed that something is changing and it's for the better. That's great. And I actually have outside experts come and do trainings and in my
Hmm.
group, how to say difficult things, how to speak to someone, how to help them with that, because that's not exactly my area of expertise. This is very close to relationship coaching, and I have a really great lady who comes in and really teaches us, if you want to get something across, how to do that, and it's not like very like technical or something like say this or say that, but it's stuff like when you want to get a message across, make sure that the other side, they are in a situation ready to hear you. And, everybody felt called out because what do we do most of the time? It's like when, the other half is sort of tying their shoes and out the door, and you say, oh, by the way, I want a divorce, something like this. So you have to, make sure that the situation is right and stuff like this. Um, I just really go to outside experts to help with that, and so they can sort of take charge and become more confident in expressing their needs. That's the big thing.
Are there do women have any advantages when it comes to lifting weights, or so? Whenever I was just like thinking, like, oh, we've been talking about some negatives, but um, which are the guys in their lives sometimes, but the I know like testosterone and stuff's like really makes it easy to lift weights and like gain muscle or whatever. But is there any advantage that women have? I know. I think I was reading that women can hold their breath really, really well, like really efficient with the like regulation of like oxygen. So like that's maybe
Oh,
something. But like when it comes to like
I didn't know
weightlifting,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
like there's training for like SEALs and stuff for like being on subs where like they'll like an average woman you can just like push them into the water and they'll hold their air just fine. But you have to train a man how to do it because we're just like
Okay.
mouth breathers apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just used to suffering, aren't we?
Yeah,
No,
seems so.
I'm joking. So yeah, there are two things. First of all, when you go on a training session, you lift weights, you will have a spike of growth hormone the night of that day and even bigger the next night. And for women, it's actually enough to do 30 minutes and they will have that spike. So they will have that growth and that strength gain and everything. So they don't have to work forever, which is great. So you can have like a really good effect. And this is also part of the reason I start with these short bouts because it's like really very
Mm.
effective. And then women recover better, quicker, more quickly than men um, from workouts. But it's not quite clear. It could be just because the absolute numbers that women lift are lower. So maybe it's just objectively easier and faster to recover from lifting 50 kilos instead of 100 or something. But women recover faster, which is good too. So
Yeah,
you
I
can
think it's
go
real.
again.
Yeah, I imagine if you like made it relative, like there's a TV show in the U.S. called Survivor, where there's usually a challenge where it's like a percentage of their body weight. So then it's like proportionally it's fair for everyone, more or less. So I think like if 50 kilos for a woman, it's maybe equivalent to like 100 kilos for a guy. Someone would have to do the science on that, but that would make sense to me. It'd be like equivalent.
Um, yeah, I don't know. To me, somehow intuitively, it does make sense. But I know what you mean. And this is also something that's great in weightlifting because we only lift percentages. So we always all at the same intensity.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, I heard an expert say that. And yeah, maybe the damage is bigger or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So I got one last big question because I realized we got away from wasn't watching the time. The
Yeah.
so I'm gonna quote you. I'm gonna quote you and look into rapid fires because I know what time it is your time. So this is more like a capstone because I know this is like something that was really important. I want to make sure that if we ended on this question, it would like tie in everything and make sure I didn't miss anything today. But you said you would love to talk. I didn't ask if I could quote this, but I would I would love to talk about how my reluctance to give up my power and my self advocacy in dealing with the medical professionals, plus the super simple hack of building physical strength, got me out of a very unpleasant spot. We've kind of talked about it so far today. But is there anything about your story that in particular that I haven't been able to get out in our conversation that you think is really important for people to hear and not understand?
Um, I think this part of not giving up your power and the
Mm,
self-advocacy, I think this is like the cornerstone. And maybe because I had been in hospital when I was prescribed the lifelong treatment, I sort of fought with the doctor, didn't want it, had to accept it, but then insisted that I, can go training and stuff. And while I was discussing for an hour nearly with this doctor about this lifelong treatment, I saw how surprised he was. He was just writing the prescription and wanted to send me on my way. So somebody talking back, asking all these questions was new to him. And I've
mm,
and discussions and conversations with women my age, and then they struggle with menopause and they have all these weird symptoms. And they tell me, so I went to the doctor and he gave me this medication. And so what is it for? I don't know. What did he diagnose? I don't know. And that's one thing, also in a client of mine or my mom or a friend of mine, when they go to the doctor, I always say, ask all the questions. Do not let them have your best interest in mind because they might not. And it doesn't mean that they're bad people. They just don't, they are the person who can defend your interest and your health best is you. You need to know what's going on. You have a right to know what's going on. Ask all the questions. And when your last question is answered, then you can go and say, okay, now I know what this is about, and I can decide what I do or why I can understand why I'm given this drug. And, midlife women, when menopause hits most of them, they feel horrible, like quite suddenly. They don't sleep well. They have low moods. They're not motivated. Their libido tanks. They're tired, exhausted all the time. They joint all kinds of stuff. They go to see the doctor, and they describe all this. And I've heard this so many times that I'm just going to say this now. Like, what does the doctor do? He describes an antidepressant. That's how they. And if you have these symptoms, why would you just let them prescribe something instead of asking what is it? Why do you think this is going to help me? How do you think this is going to help me? What do you think I have? Things like that. You need to stand up for yourself. And I'm not sure how this works with men. I think women have a big problem with that. They're struggling. And whatever's happening to you, you have to be your own advocate, and you have the right to speak up for yourself. This is really important because so many people think, oh, it's the doctor and he knows. He doesn't know you. You know yourself best, and and really stand up. And because I did that and I insisted and I went back to the gym and I sort of got myself out of this spot. I think this is really, really important. And I don't want to like spit on the medical profession. I know the challenges they have and everything. Just don't expect them to be your advocate. You have to be your own advocate.
Yeah, and I think a tip that I found very effective is if you go in there with a sheet of paper and you could literally just have like your grocery list in lines with like space 2 to 3 per. If you go in with a list and just like look at it, if you came with any questions, that's much better, of course. But you could literally go with a list of like grocery items and then stare at the grocery items that says like need 3 cans of milk, and then you stare at it for a second and you say, actually, this reminds me of the question I'm going to ask you, and then ask that. The doctors slow down if you go in with a notebook. They go from like I've seen a doctor go like chop shop like we were just describing earlier, where it's like 6 minutes, 6 minutes, 6 minutes, 6 minutes, to like, oh, okay, this is a different. We're doing something different now, and they like slow down. It's like almost like, oh, there's a human, and it's because they're so overworked. It's like doctors and medical professionals have like some of the highest suicide rates in the U.S. It's like veterans and doctors have like the worst for suicide rates. They're really overworked. And so if you go in like literally just with a sheet of paper, proactively think of questions, or, even use some AI tools to maybe ask them questions that you like kind of coach yourself. Like there's like cool resources on this. That changes the game. And you're counting SSRI, like SSRIs. The U.S. is the the SSRI capital of the world. And I've personally heard like three women talk about how they went in there saying like, "Oh, I'm having X, Y, or Z," and before they even sat down, they pulled out the prescription pad and within like 10 seconds, like, "Oh yeah, you need an antidepressant." Like, how is that solving it? Why are you messing with my brain chemistry? How about you stay on my brain? You know, it's like so. I think coming with your stuff and then using doctors as a resource. I think those are two things that I found. Um, it also kind of helps the doctor too, like helps
I
them
think
see what
so.
you want from them. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
because they want to help. I think doctors and medical professionals they desperately want to help you. Like there was one
Yeah.
time, I was going to the doctor, and a friend of mine was going, and they kind of asked me along, and I was like, okay, but you have to tell them we're related, or they're not gonna let me in. And I sat there and I had a notebook, and I said like track your symptoms for a month, like track them, and then come up with questions, and then give them that information. Like literally hand them to the like a PDF of that to the doctor. The doctor ran in through the door saying, "I know what you have. I know what this is." Like so excited. I've never seen a doctor act that way before. It's like
Amazing. Yeah.
you just need this. You just need this. You're so you don't need to be having this problem. Those are two things that I found to be very effective. I don't know
Yeah,
if
that's
there's
amazing
anything.
advice.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. Was there anything that has helped you be like confident in your self advocacy? Anything like taking notes or I think just knowing that you can that that's something you should be doing. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah. And it's great and it helps you because so often, and I know this especially from my mom. I mean, she's old, but she comes back and says something, and I say, "So what did they say? What was it exactly?" And then she says, "I don't remember." And you want to remember what they're telling you to. So yeah, that's a great thing.
Most yeah, most doctors. And you have to like check the laws on this, but if I'm seeing a doctor, I will ask if I can record the conversation so I can transcribe it later. And if they're not cool with that, it's like, then what are you really going to tell me that I can't record? Or can you have someone come in here and transcribe this? They'll give you resources. I'm
Oh,
annoying. So the best like this.
oh, I'm going to tell people to do that. That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
really great.
you can take like later your phone has enough audio capacity. You just put that on the table, hit record, take the PDF, take the audio file, upload it, and you can. There's free transcription software now. You can have that written
Yeah,
out in no time.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um.
Great.
So some rapid fire questions.
Yeah, no, I'm not
Uh.
afraid. I'm old and slow.
No, you're not. I bet you can't run me. But what is there a book? What is the most recommended book or resource that you've gifted to people or recommended to people so far this year?
I love Atomic Habits, James Clear.
Hmm, sweet. Um, so this is a, and if I ask you a question and you don't want to answer it, just like put pass.
Okay, I'm
Because
yeah.
okay, but because you're a mom, I have a mom question. Because there's some writers, so I get like people writing in like, "Hey, I'm having this problem or I'm having this thing. Can you like have people on to talk about it?" And so I'm having like further experts to talk about this. But they were asking like, what could they do for the women in their lives after they've had a kid, uh, to help them? Like, is it like, do you give them like chocolate? Do you give them like a box, protein bars? Like, as like, and this is like a weird question to ask, but like, what, like looking back, would you have loved to have had after having kids? Like, like after,
Oh,
like that like month or two or whatever, where like you're like healing or whatever. Is there anything that like your significant others or like people who love you could have done for you that like would have really helped?
um, for me, it was being able to feel that there was still life was still as it was before, even though it
Mm,
isn't. I remember when I had my first child, I was totally, it totally threw me. I thought I was never going to be able to move 3 steps away from that cradle, and that I was sort of locked down for life. So after a few weeks, we got a babysitter and we went out to a restaurant, and that helped me a lot. Just feeling, that life can still be normal and you can still do normal things that have nothing to do with the kid.
and then um, I wrote down the last one, and now I cannot read my handwriting. Um, I could leave it to you. Is there any question you'd like to leave for the audience?
So ask them,
Yeah,
something? Or
we can do whatever that we want. Hey, listeners.
yeah, that's amazing. I have a good question. What is one thing that you can do right now to improve your health or your well-being or your happiness? One thing that you can do right now. Don't dream into the future. Don't think about buying a gym membership or booking a spa session. Something that you can do right now. Could be drinking a glass of water. Could be going for a walk. Could be anything. Sitting down reading a book or downloading Headspace. But one thing, ask yourself, what's one thing that I can do right now that is in my power and then, in my possibility, my situation that I can do right now to feel better, and then do it.
And then for your clients, do you do just in person, or so like is it like people in Spain that should look for you if this is resonating with them, or you do online as well?
I do exclusively online.
Okay.
So I work with women in the US and the UK, even in Australia. So yeah, it works all online, and it's actually it's a tighter relationship actually because with the technology you can we can talk every day. The PT you can when you invest a lot of money you can see them 3 times a week, and then that's 3 hours of the week, and me you can message me every day 24/7.
Mhm. And then your website is Kim, so KIMRAHIR.com for anyone else, anyone listening in who wants to check that out. She also has a Instagram. Both of those will be linked in the show notes. Kim, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you. This was a great talk. I really had a lot of fun. Lovely show.